need to train in a gym, real gym, any gym, 24-hour gym, warehouse gym? Or can you do it at home with whatever setup you've got? And if you can do it at home, do you need a specific setup?
We've talked about this before, haven't we? My answer is as it was last time. I believe that most people are better off training in a gym. And my reasons are not what you might expect. Because the fact is, you can kit out a home gym relatively inexpensively. The only issue would be space. So if you don't have a garage or a place for a large shed or something like that, or a spare room, then obviously, that's sufficiently large to fit a squat rack, then yeah, you would need to train the gym on equipment front. But anyone who's got that could reasonably build a gym for themselves. So that's why. But even those people, I would recommend train in a gym for the simple reason that going to the gym is inconvenient. There is a commute to and from. Specifically, you've got to walk, bike, or drive to the gym, and that's going to take. If we take into account putting on shoes, getting out the door, even a very short journey, you're looking at 15 minutes, so half an hour total there and back, but likely longer for most people. I mean, even when I lived literally, I could, if there weren't trees in the way, I'd be able to see the gym from my house when I was in Kent. Um, Even then, a trip to the gym was still a half an hour round trip there and back. We take everything into account. And what this does is it forces you to properly block out time to train. Yeah. So when the gym's at home, the temptation is always, well, I've only got to go into the garage, or I've only got to go into the spare room to train. So you can do it later. So it's very easy for other things to take priority over the gym. Oh, I'll just do it later. I'll just do it later. So we run our business, don't we? And well, you don't now. You're employed. You've left. You left me. But
Abandoned.
yeah, before you abandoned me, we run our business, didn't we? Well, I still run the business, and if it'd be very easy for me to just keep doing little things. Oh, I can train later, or I'll just respond to that support email now, or I'll just write this email now. I'll train later. I'll train later. But I can't do that because I know that the gym is a half an hour walk there, or 20 minutes, half an hour walk there, 45 minutes when I'm there, a half an hour walk back. So there are only a small number of windows in which I can actually fit that in during the day, what with being married to you and stewarding two children. Yeah. But if the gym was at home, it'd be very easy for me to go, I'll just do it later, I'll just do it later. And then I can train after the kids have gone to bed, can't I? Except we all know that wouldn't happen. And I've been doing this week in, week out for 15 years. And I know that if I trained at home, I would have a harder time complying with my program than not. Probably not as hard a time as the average person because I'm not the average person, but I would certainly, particularly towards the end of the programs, like this week, we're taking a week off next week, aren't we? Because I'm feeling really crispy, Jess. And well, we had it on a micro scale, didn't we, on Friday? When I was going to go to the gym after you train, so you get home at probably about 6:30, wouldn't you? After you train,
After it trains,
train
yeah.
and got home from work about 6:30, and I would have gone out. That's the classic example of doing it later. And I just wasn't up to it after a day of doing bits and bobs when the kids were sleeping and looking after the kids and stuff. I just was not up for that at this point in my program. I was too crispy, too tired, so I had to then train subsequently Saturday morning. But most people probably just would have sacked it off. And when you've got a gym at home, temptation for just putting things back like that, and then it gets too late in the day, and you're just like, oh, actually, now I can't be bothered. That's what happens, and I've seen it happen. I know it happens. So yes, I believe that most people, should train in a gym, even if they've got space and facility to train at home, especially if compliance is even a tiny issue. If you've ever missed workouts because you can't be bothered, definitely need to train in a gym.
Would you suggest as well that once, obviously, you walk to the gym
Yes.
and it's a half-hour walk, 25-minute walk. By the time you've packed your bag, put your shoes on, and got to the gym, even if you're not feeling like you've not been feeling great,
Hmm.
because you've already sacrificed half an hour and you know you've got another half an hour walk back, you you'd give your workout your all. You're less. I'm not you generally,
Yeah,
because
no,
I know
no.
that you wouldn't.
Well,
But the
no.
royal you.
Well, no, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. You've carved that time out of your day. You might as well make it worthwhile. There are no other options. There are no other distractions. You know, it's another reason why I say people shouldn't take the damn phones into the gym. If I had a gym, I would ban phones.
Yeah,
I'd ban phones, and I'd have a dress code.
yeah.
You know,
Women must wear t-shirts.
well, shoulders cut and men. I don't like men
Mm.
wearing stringers either. I think it's atrocious. I think
Yeah.
it's degenerate. But no, we would have a gym, we would have dress code, and we would have no phones. Yeah, and but at home, you know, it's not just the phone, and you know, because you can't like leave your phone in the garden or anything like that, 'cause someone will steal it probably. So not only have you got your phone with you, or in the next room, you've got all the other shit that's in your house that's going to distract you from training. And so yes, you're not in the right headspace.
Mm.
I defy anyone to be in the. I know there are some people who do it. I know there are, and I know there's some people who thrive in the home gym environment. I know those people exist. But if you're listening to this, it's probably not you.
Can't pretend
Let's
that
be
it is.
honest. It's probably yeah. It's very obvious why I do this podcast is to sell you my stuff. So if you're remotely interested in buying my stuff, then you're probably not the sort of person who's able to train by
Mm.
themselves independently from home gym.
We trained at your parents' home gym for a while during the lockdowns, didn't we?
Oh
But
yes,
they live 10 miles from us, so we still had to
yeah.
drive
It
all
was no
day.
different.
It
That's not
wasn't.
that doesn't count. It's like going to a gym. Like the difference is they didn't charge us entry, Jess.
No, no, I know. But and they've moved house now, and I'm just thinking they've got an internal garage, haven't
Mm.
they? And I know I would struggle if I lived in their house, because you just pop into the loo to use the loo halfway through a workout or whatever, and you're back at home.
Yeah, it's not. There's something different. There's something that's the discomfort involved in the commute, particularly like bad weather and stuff. It just builds a bit of mental toughness. Another layer. You know, you have to. It forces you to take that positive action towards actually training that commute.
Mm.
I can't overstate the effect it has. In fact, this is a good example actually. My first year of training, I don't count this among the now nearly 15 years. So technically, I've actually been it'd be 16 years, but I don't count this year because I did a really bad job of it.
Mm.
I bought an Argos weight set for like 20 quid and some squat stands for like, oh, I want to say about 60 quid. So I had the weight, the just a little cheapo cast iron weight set, and I had all sorts of designs on training regularly. I even marked I even the whole month of January, Jess, of that year, the year of which escapes me. I marked which days I was going to train and which days I wasn't going to train because I had this home gym set up. Do you want to know how many days I actually managed in that whole January?
3.
5.
5.
5 days I managed of all of the, and I'd set myself to do 4 days a week. I managed 5 days total in the whole month. But why not? The gym's right there. It was in the conservatory. It was right there. It was even out all the time. I could see the damn squat rack and the bar all the time. Whenever I was sat on my fat ass watching television, playing video games, I could see it and I wouldn't go and do it. It was only when I joined the gym that
Yeah.
that routine became fixed and firm.
The amount of second-hand gym equipment on Facebook Marketplace suggests you're
I
not alone.
I wouldn't know because I don't go on that hellhole.
Do
I know you do.
like a browse, but
Women love Facebook Marketplace.
I think most people who buy a home gym
Hmm,
sell it
pretty
within,
quickly,
yeah.
and they realise they need to go. And as I say, there's also the tangential equipment issue because I said you can kit out the basics relatively inexpensively. There are a number of good suppliers who will set you up with a squat rack and an Olympic bar and some plates. Plates are really expensive now, actually.
We
They're
looked at
way.
some, didn't
Do you remember when I had the gym?
we? Yeah.
I kitted out the whole gym with the were high quality cast
You
iron
had two
plates. I
squats,
had two squat racks. I think
two
I had about
benches.
300 kilos of plates,
Yeah.
and because it wasn't like a free use gym, it was a personal training gym. So for group training, so I only needed enough to
A
train a
couple
group
of
of people.
bits.
But the point is I kitted that place out for about 2 grand, and the
Mm.
pla- and the racks were really high quality. It was the plates, and the plates were relatively inexpensive. When we were looking at some for my mum, the price of plates has just gone through the ceiling. It's insane now.
Yeah.
But this isn't the point. What we're talking about. What I'm talking about is access to other bits and bobs. Like we do want to be using machines and cables in the correct places in our programs, and gyms have those. You know, pretty much all gyms. The only gyms that really suck now are like council run gyms because obviously their competition pay for their existence by business rates, don't
Mm.
they?
Yeah.
Most council gyms suck. They're really bad machines. Like even like Pure Gym and the chains that historically have had kind of a bad reputation for equipment are now really, really, really well equipped. You get all sorts of cool stuff in those gyms now. You
Yeah.
never used to get it. I remember training at a 24-hour gym back when 24-hour gyms were new, and it was the stereotypical 24-hour gym with the cheap machines and the rickety squat rack and things. It's not acceptable by the market anymore. Like they're all so there is the advantage of going to the gym as well from an equipment point of view. You will get access to things like a lot of them have prowlers to push. Downside of that is they don't have big enough tracks. A lot of the time, the tracks aren't quite large enough, so they have these little like piddly 5 meter tracks when really you want like a 20 meter track at
You
least.
could do Prowler outside.
Yeah, yeah, you might get in trouble with the council for churning up
Well,
the
no,
pavement.
I was more thinking that very few people are going to have room in their home or their shed for a 20
Yeah,
meter
the
track
Americans do it. You see a lot of American strength coaches like, oh, push Prowler down,
down
that's
the
that.
street.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the pictures of them doing it, but Americans, they're big sidewalks. You love it when I say things like that, don't you?
Yeah,
And
Americans.
they're highways, particularly when you live rurally. They're quite wide and conducive. Also, like a lot of them have like they're not
Public
tarmac, are
spaces.
they? Their road surface is sometimes different. I've seen a lot of them
Mm,
have like almost like a concrete road surface that's more conducive to
better.
pushing prowler and pulling sled. So yeah, you're going to struggle to do like loaded carries at home,
Yeah.
and loaded carries are they're always optional in the programs that I write, but I do think that people should do them if they can.
Especially when you're in your earlier days of training and you are in that kind of adding weight to the bar or weight to your reps every time, having a big set of dumbbells or being
That's
able to,
convenience.
yeah. And then, as you say, when you're feeling crispy, just being able to be like, oh no,
Oh, I'm
I'm
just
not
going to mess about with cables
going to
today.
do cables today. Even stuff like when we went together on Tuesday and I was able to do those hanging leg raises,
Yeah,
and just doing that instead of sit ups.
yeah,
And the buzz I got from, oh, I did
yeah.
something new today.
Yeah, yeah. There's loads. There are loads of advantages. The main one being though, equipment's a secondary issue because you can build a cracking body with a squat rack and a barbell. You just can. It's a very boring way to do it, but it's arguably the most efficient and effective way. If you had, if you got own, it's a hypothetical and it's a bit of a silly hypothetical because there's no reason for it to happen. But if you had to pick one thing, you only had a choice, like desert island disc style. You've got one piece of equipment you can use to build your body. It'd be a barbell every day of the week. Superior to all of them, but the others have their place, and so it's sensible to have access to them if you can. So yes, but that's not the main issue. The main reason why you need to train in a gym is simply for the inconvenience of training in a gym.
So we know that you've got at least half an hour commute and you want to have at
I think
least
we're done on this topic now. I'm
no,
bored of
no,
it.
no, I know, but I'm moving it on.
Okay.
You've got an hour's training, so you're looking at really a 2 hour block, as we've talked about. We've talked this week about training morning or evening.
Oh yeah, you are moving it on, aren't you? Clever.
So because you've got to have 2 hours, that's most likely for most people, right? They have a job in the middle of the day, so they were either going to do it before work or after work.
Yes.
And so when should people train?
Well, that's a bit of a difficult question, isn't it? I don't know when they should train unless they're paying me money, and then I'll tell them because it would be wrong of me to make a definitive answer in any direction because you need all sorts of things at play as to when someone should train. But in my experience, it's better to lift weights specifically and do hard conditioning work, so sprints and hard runs and things like that, in the afternoon and evening. Morning training. There are people who swear by morning training. There are people who swear by morning training. I question those people on their motives for why they want to train in the morning. A lot of them have an attitude towards training of I want to get it out of the way and enjoy the rest of my day. That's never a good reason to train in the morning. There are some people who genuinely do perform much better in the morning. I've met some of them. I think they're insane, but they do genuinely perform, in which case, fine. But for most people, in my experience, and also drawing from various studies and things that I've read, low quality one and all, as most exercise sciences, seem to suggest that afternoon and evening training is generally better because the body is. If you think about it, this is a gross oversimplification for the purposes of YouTube, but the body has had time to warm up so that you've been moving around all day, the joints are lubricated. Yeah, even if you've been sat on your ass at a desk, you're still gonna move more objectively over that period of time than you would between getting out of bed and hitting the gym first thing in the morning before work. So there's that. There are hormonal reasons as well. Another one is body's response to pain is slightly different in the afternoon too, apparently. I might be misremembering, but I do remember reading something along those. I recall reading so. Anyway, my point is as a general rule, most people tend to do better in the afternoon and evening training. What I've had a few conversations with people, some of whom have most of, I've had all of whom have agreed to become clients, um, around training after work. There is the issue of people people being unable to discern the difference between being mentally tired and physically tired at the end of a day of work.
Well, we've both experienced this in the
Well, yeah,
past.
but more, yeah. So there's a guy I was speaking to a little while ago. He is very busy setting up a business, which is really hard work. I know I've done it several times, some more successfully than others. Um, and by the end of the day, he doesn't feel like he can train because he's so tired. But as I pointed out to him, his job is as stressful as it is still sedentary. So he's not physically tired. He's mentally tired. I first experienced this obviously working shifts on an ambulance, and sometimes there was a physical aspect to my job, but not really. I spent most of my day sat on my ass in a van or in the back of a van or sitting on someone's sofa. That's how I spent most of my day. So I was like, I'm not. I remember driving back from a university placement actually, very early on, thinking, oh, I can't be bothered to go to the gym today because I'd done a 5:45 to a 5:45 shift, and bearing in mind my university was somewhere in the region of 40 miles away from where I was doing my placements. I had to get up at 3 a.m. for that, and my housemates had had a lovely house party that night, so I'd had about 4 hours sleep, and but even so, I was driving back thinking, oh, I can't be asked to go. And I was like, no, do you know what, Phil? By the time you get to the gym, it's going to be like 6:30. And you're not at work till 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. You're not back on placement till 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. And what have you actually done today, Nugget? I was like, nothing. I'd sat on my ass. We'd been on standby for like 4 hours. I'd done nothing for like 4 hours. I was mentally tired. I wasn't physically tired. I'd slept in the afternoon on the shift because we weren't on a job. I would catch up on some sleep. So I wasn't physically tired at all. I was also 21 years old or 20 years old. So, there's that too. So I just sacked up and went. I had it again when I got my first corporate job. That was quite an experience because even though when you work in an ambulance or you're either in a response car or an ambulance and you're sitting on your ass in a van, there's still quite a lot of movement, like getting in and out. And even if you're on standby, like you get out and walk around a little bit. My first experience of being like a proper corporate wage slave, sitting on a cheap office chair, spinny office. It was spinny, so it wasn't that cheap, but it was cheap spinny chair for 8 hours, not really moving at all. That was something, and that was a new level of mental tiredness. Staring at a screen all day. I finished work. I finished work. I was like, oh, I'm knackered. And again, I was like, yeah, but what have you actually done today? Nothing.
Interestingly,
So I went and trained, and once the key is warming up properly before training. That's the key. You have to warm up properly before you train. Under those circumstances, I wouldn't be able to just walk in and start squatting. I have to do my warm up the Phil Timon way, and that then got me ready. There was also with that job specifically, there was a nice little walk to the gym as well, which was really good. But if I'd not had that, let's pretend I was commuting in the car, I would have jumped on the treadmill for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, which is about the only non-pathetic use of a treadmill, actually. Anyway, go on.
well, I've just started a new job, haven't I? And some days in the office and some days from home. And even the days from home, I
Hmm.
find I move around more. Our office is up in our loft room, so even just going to the toilet requires the stairs.
Yeah.
And I went to the gym after my first day at work, which happened to be in the office. And I said to you when I got home tonight, like I had to do was really conscious of my warm up.
Yeah, because the things that shouldn't be tight get tight, and the things that shouldn't be loose get loose when you're staring at a screen all day. It's really not a good place to be, and you can seriously do. I remember one. I actually did myself quite a big mischief when I was doing a corporate job because I couldn't be asked to warm up. I thought I'll be fine, and I went and squatted, and my hamstrings were tighter than a duck's ass, and not that I know, and yeah, I actually hurt myself with the bar, which I think is quite an achievement. Just an empty
Mm.
barbell.
Yeah.
Something went pop because I was not in a fit state because I've been sat on that cheap spinny office chair all day. So yeah.
Yeah. And on the flip side, we're 2 weeks into my new job now, and on Friday I got to the gym and thought, oh, I don't know that I can be asked with this, and felt better when I left.
Oh yeah, you absolutely will. You absolutely will, because the body needs physical challenge every day. Human body is built to be challenged physically every day. I defy anyone to tell me otherwise. Because in fact, the only people who do argue against me are fat, so their opinion is invalid.
Isn't movement one of the key characteristics of life?
Well, yeah. So when like the scientist people, like SETI, search for extra, or no, not them, but like there's a whole field of biology, exobiology. It used to be considered fringe science. I suppose it kind of still is, but they basically theorize what alien life would be,
Is it
and
alive?
yeah, and
Yeah.
they've got these criteria for what is life. And I don't even think that's just exobiology. I think I remember learning that in just like regular biology at school, like the
Yeah.
different criteria for what human life is, or
What life
how do we know something is alive or not? And one of those characteristics is moving.
moves?
So if you're not moving, yeah, so you're just a lump, aren't you? But no, the human body's built to be challenged, should be challenged physically every day in some way, shape, or form, even if it's just a walk for an hour. Like just do something. Because if you're not, are you really living? Probably not. You certainly won't be living for perhaps as long as you might otherwise if you did move, because you might die of a heart attack.
And on that bombshell, I think we're done.